What is going on, Pats Nation? You guys already know who it is. Patriots Global here, back with another video, and in this one, I want to talk about Jakobi Meyers. Now, as we all know, Jakobi Meyers very recently signed his 2022 tender that was placed on him. This offseason, he was a restricted free agent, meaning the Patriots technically did still have the rights to him. They just had to place a tender on him. Other teams can make a bid. If they did, the Patriots could match it if they wanted to. Obviously, Patriots placed that tender on him. No other team was going to really make an offer sheet to Jakobi Meyers, meaning that, hey, the Patriots were going to get him for at least the 2022 season, but this does mean that it is just a one-year contract, and he will be an unrestricted free agent, at the end of this season, unless the Patriots get an extension done with him. Now, the Patriots placed that tender on Jakobi Meyers quite a bit of time ago. As we all remember, that tender is worth about $3.9 million for this 2022 season, which is guaranteed. And it really took Jakobi Meyers quite a while to finally come around to signing it, not because he didn't want to be with the Patriots, but because he was really eyeing that long-term deal with the Patriots and really wanted to wait to sign that one-year tender, hoping that he was going to be able to get that extension before he had to sign that. Now, he did sign it on about June 13th. I believe June 15th was the date, if I'm not wrong, for guys to sign their tenders. If they didn't, teams could actually lower the amount of money that they were going to make on that tender, which obviously Jakobi Meyers wants to make as much money as he possibly can on this tender, only making about $3.9 million. Now, with that being said, although Jakobi Meyers did sign that tender, doesn't mean the Patriots and Jakobi Meyers are still not working to get a longer extension done. Now, Jakobi Meyers has actively come out and said, hey, I want to stay around New England. I want to play in New England. I don't want to go anywhere else, but obviously he's not just going to come around and play for $3 million a year. He still has got to make a good amount of money, but ideally he does still want to play here. Now, the Patriots and Jakobi Meyers camp, also known as Drew Rosenhaus and Robert Bailey, who actually Bill Belichick and Drew Rosenhaus are very good when it comes to agent and head coach and kind of coming out these long-term deals. So, I mean, if you're somebody who wants to keep Jakobi Meyers around, there's a bright side for you. But Adam Schefter did report that, again, despite them signing this tender, that, Drew Rosenhaus, Jakobi Meyers, and the New England Patriots coaching staff, they're still working on this long-term deal for Jakobi Meyers. Now, that doesn't mean anything is going to necessarily get done. Contracts are, they're very up and down in the NFL. One minute you're hearing a guy's not going to sign anything and he wants out. Next thing you know, he's signing a 4-year, $50 million contract. Example, Aaron Rodgers. And then you see guys who are expected to stay around and then are getting traded or signing elsewhere. But we do at least know that the Patriots, Jakobi Meyers, there's definitely mutual interest on getting that extension done, which makes a lot of sense. Jakobi is still very young, guys. He's only 25 years old, so he definitely still fits within that idealism that the Patriots are going with here offensively at getting younger, at getting more athletic. Jakobi Meyers still falls within that. He's not old, He's been here for a couple of years, but I wouldn't necessarily consider him a established veteran. But he led this Patriots team in receptions and receiving yards. Receptions with 83 and receiving yards with 866. This was actually the second year in a row that he did so. And he really showcased himself as Mac Jones' favorite target, his go-to guy when he needed somebody to go to, which it's actually really interesting to hear that because, one, Mac Jones is a rookie, but two, we saw that exact same thing the year prior with Cam Newton, a totally different quarterback, a totally different scheme quarterback, but still going to Jakobi Meyers in time of needs and becoming that #1 target. It's not like, Jakobi Meyers came in the last 2 years with the same quarterback repping out. He's showcased himself leading in receptions, leading in receiving yards, both years being the favorite target for 2 different quarterbacks 2 years in a row. Jakobi is also a guy who progressively gets better each and every single year, and that's not even, my opinion. That is a statistical fact. You look at 2019, his first year as a UDFA making this team, with Tom Brady throwing him the ball. He had 26 receptions, 359 yards, 0 touchdowns. 2020 with Cam Newton, 59 receptions, 729 yards, 0 touchdowns. This past year with Mac Jones, 83 receptions, 866 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He hasn't hit 1,000 yards yet, but the way that he is progressing, I definitely see him being a 1,000-yard receiver within a couple of years if he stays here. And honestly, even if he goes out and signs elsewhere, I could see Jakobi Meyers being a 1,000-yard receiver for another team. And that's not to say that Jakobi Meyers is one of the best receivers in the NFL, that he's an elite receiver, but he's definitely an average to, I would even say above average wide receiver who brings versatility, being able to play on the outside and inside with that height at 6'2", 200 pounds, which I will say he did also add some weight this offseason. He looks a little bit bigger from what we've heard. Has a pretty decent route tree, nothing crazy, but still a pretty decent route tree. Speed isn't anything crazy, but with his ability to make hard cuts, with his ability to catch in traffic, make really tough catches, diving catches, catches close to the sideline, catches with the defender on his heels, and being able to get open at the most needed moments, that is what Jakobi Meyers has really defined himself as a wide receiver here, not just for the National Football League, but for the New England Patriots. Not to mention that he used to be a quarterback before entering the NFL and switching to wide receiver, so he's a guy you see a lot of times with those kind of switch-up plays, you know? Whether that's a flea flicker, we're going from Mac Jones to Jakobi Meyers getting the ball going downfield to somebody like Mac Jones or, James White. The Patriots love to have somebody who can throw the ball offensively other than Mac Jones. That guy's Jakobi Meyers. Was Julian Edelman. Now that's Jakobi Meyers. Now, real quick, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video and the sponsor of this channel, betonline.ag. Guys, our partners over at BetOnline, they continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and your sports info. You guys can find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including the NBA offseason, the Major League Baseball offseason, NHL hockey, latest fighting news, and guys, even already next year's early NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and even more. All you guys have to do is head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive, get this, a 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit, just using that promo code CLNS50 to get in with the bonus and get in with the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, you look at this offense for the Patriots, more specifically the weapons. Obviously, it's continuously gotten better over, I would say, the last 2 off seasons, whether you want to talk about running back, wide receiver, and tight end. So there's several different ways that Mac Jones can go to when it comes to spreading the ball out. Devontae Parker, Nelson Aguilar, Ty Montgomery, Christian Wilkerson, Tyquan Thornton, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Malcolm Perry, Kendrick Bourne, N'Keal Harry for the time being, Trey Nixon, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Devin Asiasi. And that's not even to get into the running backs with guys like James White, Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, Pierre Strong. But you look at Jakobi Meyers, and I can confidently say that he's either going to be, at the end of the season, he's going to be the Patriots' #1 wide receiver, or he's going to be the Patriots' #2 wide receiver. I think that there's a lot of guys who are going to step up for the Patriots, more specifically for me, somebody like Kendrick Bourne. So, I don't necessarily think Jakobi Meyers is going to lead the Patriots in receptions and receiving yards at the end of the season, but I do think that he will still end up leading the Patriots in receptions and targets by the end of the season, still continuing to be that go-to guy for Mac Jones, kind of that guy that Mac Jones goes to in the time of need, and a guy that you're going to see get a lot of receptions. But I do think at the end of the day, somebody like Kendrick Bourne, to me, is someone who I think will finish with the most receiving yards at the end of the season. Jakobi Meyers really does fit in perfectly to this Patriots scheme, this Patriots offense. He operates really well within the short to intermediate route where the Patriots generally, do like to operate. But we have seen on several different occasions where he's been able to get behind the defense. And that's not because of his speed. That's really because of his feet work, his technique, that he's been able to get behind, these NFL defenses and make bigger splash plays down the field. The one thing that really hinders Jakobi Meyers, I think, in the NFL, and even potentially getting him that next big contract, is going to be his inability after the catch. Now, it's kind of like somebody like Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry is a guy who makes really hard catches, contested catches. Someone who can even catch the ball between 2 defenders. But he's just not someone who's going to give you anything after he gets the ball in his hands. If you give him an open field, sure, he's just going to run with the ball. But if there's defenders around him, don't expect him to have all these fancy, neat footwork moves, jukes, spin moves, hurdles. That's not Jakobi Meyers. But at the end of the day, having somebody who can make these tough catches is just as important. I really don't think the Patriots have any guys, really, outside of maybe somebody like Kendrick Bourne, who can give you what Jakobi Meyers has. The Patriots wanted somebody like N'Keal Harry to show out and be someone who they could rely on to go to in time of need, to make these tough grabs, to play on the perimeter, and that wasn't the guy, and that's kind of where Jakobi Meyers has been forced to be thrusted into. The only other guy, like I mentioned, that can make these type of grabs is somebody like Hunter Henry, and, hopefully we'll see this season from Jonnu Smith. And I even think another really underrated part of Jakobi Meyers' game is his run blocking. He's been really good at run blocking. Even his efficiency at doing so over the last couple of seasons just has progressively gotten better at it too. And with this offense still being a run the ball first kind of team, you do need your receivers, your tight ends, and your running backs to be able to block for the run game too. If I did have to guess, I would say Jakobi Meyers could easily get somewhere between $8 to $10 million per year. I think that's a really nice number for him to get. Are the Patriots going to be willing to give him that kind of money? We'll just have to see. I mean, for 2022, Kendrick Bourne has a base salary of $3.5 million with a cap hit of about $6.4 million and then a cap hit of $6.9 million in 2023. I think Jakobi Meyers will get a little bit more than that. So saying he's going to get, somewhere between $8 to $10 million, I think is really in that perfect range of what he's going to get either from the Patriots or from another team. But what are your guys' thoughts on the Patriots reportedly still being in contract extension talks with Jakobi Meyers? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to leave a big like on this video, and of course, subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. But like always, I appreciate you guys for watching, and go Pats.